I just got engaged to a man that just spent 13 years in prison.
What would you do if you married someone and only after the wedding found out they were an ex-convict? Alright, so let's talk about this because this topic is pretty layered. It's one of those situations where you don't even know whether to begin with sympathy or shock.
And he's been out for 5 months, so this is his first Valentine's Day since he was 19. He just moved into my house, and I just have to brag. I have never got flowers from a man before, but here I am. These are actually like at least 2 weeks old, and they're just now starting to kind of die. These are just a few days old, and I am obsessed. I have never had flowers before. He does very well, so had to brag on that. But these are our Valentine's plants. Dollar Tree canvas. You paint the canvas one color. You put some painter's tape down directly in the middle. You guys put your hands on here, 2 different colors, and then let it dry. When you take the paint off, you'll put the date where the space is for the tape. Super cute. Got the idea off TikTok. Dollar Tree, can't beat that. I also got this at Dollar Tree. It is a snack board. We are going to put raspberries. This was $5 at the Dollar Tree. Raspberries, cocktail sausages, Aldi. This all came from Aldi. Some salami, because that's his favorite. I got these crackers. I'm going to cut this up and put chocolate in the middle. And then I got this sliced cheese at Walmart. All the food for the snack board cost me about like $10 to $12. So not bad. And then for dessert, I'm just going to make a giant chocolate chip cookie. And the snack board is just to start out. We are making heart-shaped cheese stuffed crust pizzas from scratch. So that's pretty cool. I got this box from Aldi, and I put everything I'm giving him in it, and then we're going to use the box for like little things from our relationship. But here we go. So I got this at Hobby Lobby. That was our very first picture that he actually took. Super cute. We met at a coffee shop, so I had to get this. Love you, a latte. This is the Valentine's Day card, which I'm about to sit down and fill out. I got him some Bath & Body Works warm vanilla sugar lotion. This man loves Bath & Body Works women's lotion, so no shame in that. Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree was on one this year. A year of date nights. 52 date night ideas. And they come in these cute little containers that I'm going to use for something. And then 52 things to get to know each other. So you could ask like one a week or whatever, conversation starters, which is great because yes, we're engaged and living together, but I've only known him for 6 weeks maybe. So that's great. And then I found this at Hobby Lobby. It's a coupon book, tech-free evening, memory lane adventure, arts and crafts night, cooking class together, which he actually said he wants to do, outdoor adventure day, like road trip adventure, paint night, couples yoga session. Got a phone call, so I hope you can still hear me. That's been a thing on here. I put notes in his lunchbox every single morning, and so I have been sticking those in this box already, but that's the type of thing we're going to keep in here. I can't show these on TikTok, but there's 2 Polaroids, and I'm sure you can guess. And then I found these cute little things that we can paint while we're like watching a movie. So yeah, I'm pretty excited because I usually don't celebrate Valentine's Day, and then he hasn't celebrated Valentine's Day in 13 years. So I'm very excited for us, and I have to say, like, I maybe spent $50 altogether on everything, including all the stuff to make the pizzas. So I think that's just super affordable, and we're just gonna spend time at home together. That's that.
There's a woman on here who's talking about meeting a man who recently got out of prison, and I think they've only known each other around 6 weeks or something like that. And she recently just got engaged to a man who did a 13-year bid. And I thought we'd have a conversation about that. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. Um, and, I worked in corrections for a number of years. And prior to that, I worked with inmates even before working in the Department of Corrections. So I've spent a pretty good chunk of my career just working with people who've been down, men and women and trans who've been incarcerated for quite some time. And so when somehow this woman's video came across my feed, and so she's talking about how they've been in a relationship for 6 weeks. She's moved him into her home, and he recently got out of prison after doing a 13-year bid. And now she made a post talking about how he got her all this stuff for Valentine's Day, and they're engaged. And ladies, there's no reason for your man to give an excuse, kind of deal. So I thought we'd have a conversation about that, because one of the things that I know about inmates, all inmates most of the time, they know how to make people fall in love. That is one thing that an inmate is good at doing. In fact, I still go and do jail evaluations pretty regularly. And so one of the things I will say, especially when I go see men in jail that are doing, one of the things that will happen during their evaluation is suddenly they'll switch up and start talking about how they just need a good woman, and all this stuff will go away, and their luck will completely change if they had a good woman. So that's kind of a rhetoric that male offenders use whenever they have contact with women, and it doesn't make a difference what woman they have contact with. Mama, it could be a female CO, it could be anything. But sometimes you have women that are naive, gullible, and that have low self-esteem, or that are lonely, that sort of listen to this rhetoric and buy into it more than they should. And I've seen this happen with, unfortunately, more than enough times. I've seen people destroy their careers over it. I've even seen people who work at prisons fall for it, and who get knocked up by an inmate while they work in prison. Go figure. So it's pretty much, I guess it's part of training in manipulation school or whatever. Manipulation 101 is that, first thing inmates are going to do is they want opportunity, they want resources, they want whatever you got to give them. So of course they love you. Of course they're a listening ear. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Oh, you're gonna let me live with you? Oh my gosh, it's all love. We gotta rush things. Please, come see me and do all these things, and all these long letters and things like that, and calling you on the phone and all this attention. That's what they're going to do in exchange for, love, sex, resources, whatever you can give them, right? And that's pretty much what they do. And usually, in my experience, you're one of many. So you're not the only person that they're giving it to. It's just, let me knock on as many doors as I can and see who's got the best thing going on and who's going to let me in and come stay and eat up all their snacks. Wooing is not a problem, even for an inmate, a person who is considered indigent by most standards. So until you've seen this person out in the real world, and not to mention, let's not even skip over the big part, which is why they're doing as much time as they've done, because nobody's got more swag than an inmate who's got life. These lifers, these guys that are LWOPs, life without parole, life with parole, whatever the case may be, guys who do a substantial amount of time, guys who are first, second, and third strikers. These are the people, they already know the program. They've been down long enough, so they're professionals at it. First thing they'll try and do is, give you something and see how much they can get from you, right? It's called the foot in the door approach. One of the things the inmates used to ask me all the time, Dr. Jones, don't you trust me? No, I don't trust you. I don't even trust my colleagues. Hell no, I don't trust you. I mean, come to prison and trust a prisoner? Come on now. My colleagues would sell me up the river for 50 cents and a biscuit. I'm not trusting you. So we would have that conversation. But, it's just, it never trust their lips when they're moving until you have real world history out there with them, until you know who they are, until you've seen them angry, until you have experienced them in different sort of situations, until you have guaranteed that he can provide himself his own sort of lifestyle functioning out in the free world. 6 weeks out of prison is nowhere near enough time. 6 weeks out of prison living off of your dime, you ain't really seen anything yet, because right now you are taking care of another grown man. And just go back and listen to my last post I posted right before this one. You haven't seen anything yet, so you don't know anything yet. And he's still sort of schmoozing, and people will schmooze. A master manipulator will schmooze until they get what they want. The mask will fall, but because you're so in love, or you don't want to rock the boat, or you've never experienced anything like this before, most people don't say anything and they get hoodwinked big time. But, I think one of the things that really stands out about this woman, and this is something that I see time and again, which is why every time I tell you guys about, working in prison, you guys are always so stunned, but I'm seeing it play out in real time in social media, and is that everybody's warning her. They're like shouting from the rooftops. She's getting people sucked in, which is what women do, right? And she's not listening. You could tell that man he murdered a baby last night. She's not going to listen, and that is something very real that's happened, and that's the power of manipulation. When you have for every 1,000 cries, all you got is that one man who's given her a little bit of attention, and she will not listen to it. And that is a very dangerous place to be in. And I look at it like this: people who are in that position where you have 1,000 people giving you warning labels saying, hey, that's some serious amount of time. Aren't you rushing things and this and that and other? And she's saying no. She is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than that inmate. And you can mark my words and tell him that Dr. Jones said that. I bet everything I've owned on that. And I've seen it play out a million times. Once a master manipulator has you hooked like that, to the point where you're defying all reason and logic and concern from the community and even loved ones around you, that means that you will do anything for that manipulator. And he could tell you to go off somebody. He could tell you to do all kinds of things, and she will do it because she is getting the benefit and the satisfaction of knowing that she has someone that's given her 5 minutes of attention. That is very dangerous. You never want to have somebody like that in your life. And I've learned that in corrections. I knew that before going into corrections. You never know. And I've seen all kinds of colleagues get turned. So I don't ever give them my personal address or any personal information about me, because all they've got to do is get 5 minutes of attention from an inmate. And next thing you know, that inmate is asking them for intel, and they're giving them every single thing. Be very wary of people like that. Keep your distance. Move away from them as quick as you can. They are dangerous. These women are much more dangerous than the inmates that they're linked up with. They're dangerous towards any kids that they may have, or anybody that's in them, even to their own family. And I promise you that. I hope that helps. Take care.
Imagine this. You meet someone, the connection instant, the chemistry undeniable, the late night talks, phone calls, deep conversations, trauma bonding, laughing until your stomach's hurt, the whole package. They're attentive, they're consistent, they make you feel safe, they say all the right things, they show up for you in ways people before them never did, and for the first time in a long time, you feel seen. You feel like, yeah, this might be my person. Fast forward, you start dating seriously. Things move fast. It feels right. You meet friends, maybe even family. Everybody's like, wow, they're so calm, respectful, mature, green flags everywhere. And then boom, the next thing you know, you're married. Whether it was a small ceremony or a courthouse situation, you two made that commitment. thinking you know who you are building with, thinking you knew their past, thinking there were no major skeletons in the closet. But one random day, maybe you're cleaning, maybe you're looking for documents, or maybe you just get a phone call. It's someone from their past. Or maybe they sit you down themselves, and then they have to tell you, I went to prison. Because that moment right there, that's not just shock, that's emotional whiplash. Your brain is trying to process two realities at once. The person you fell in love with, and the person you're just meeting now. And the first question that hits isn't even logical. It's emotional. Why didn't you tell me? Because now it's not just about the crime. It's about trust. It's about transparency. It's about consent to information before marriage. You start replaying everything. Every story that sounded vague. Every time they avoided talking about certain years. I went through a lot back then. Now it all just sounds different. Because hindsight has volume. And depending on what they went in for, that reaction can go in completely different directions. Because ex-convict is a wide spectrum. We're not talking about one box. Some went to prison for non-violent offenses, fraud, tax issues, drug possession, being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. And yes, some people genuinely served time, changed their lives, went to therapy, rebuilt themselves, and are trying to live the right way. But then there are other cases, the violent crimes, assault, armed robbery, domestic abuse, homicide, and let's be honest, those hit different emotionally when you find out after marriage, because now safety enters the chat, because now safety enters the conversation, not just trust, but safety. You start asking questions you never imagined about your own spouse. Are they capable of hurting me? Was the story the full truth? Could it happen again? And the hardest part, you're asking all these questions about someone you love, someone you sleep next to, someone who holds you, someone who promised you forever. That eternal conflict is heavy, because love doesn't just switch off when new information arrives. You're hurt, but you still care. You're angry, but you still see the good in them. And that emotional tug of war can be exhausting. Now let's talk about the ex-convict partner's side too, because there's nuance here. Some people don't disclose their past easily because of shame. Prison carries stigma. Once you say I did time, people look at you differently. Even if you've changed, jobs become a lot harder to get, relationships end before they even begin. People always assume the worst. So some former convicts try to rebuild quietly. They want to be known for who they are now, not who they were in the past, at their lowest. And in their mind, they think, if this person loves me first, then I'll tell them later when it's safe. There's a difference between privacy and withholding life-altering information. Marriage is informed consent to partnership, finances, health, family, legal history. All of that matters because it affects the life that you're building together. So when disclosure happens after marriage, it can feel like your choice was taken away, like you agreed to something without reading the full contract. And that's where the resentment can grow. Not because they went to prison, but because you didn't get the chance to decide how you felt before saying I do. Now let's talk about reactions, because people respond very differently in this situation. Some partners may say your past is your past. I love who you are today. And they genuinely mean it. They look at the growth, the accountability, the changed behavior, and they choose to stay rooted in the present. But on the other hand, others may feel betrayed, because for them, honesty is non-negotiable. If you hid something that big, they start wondering what else could be hidden. And once doubt enters a marriage, it can spread quietly like a mold behind the walls. You don't always see it immediately, but it's there. And there's a third reaction that people don't talk about enough. Fear mixed with guilt. Fear because of what the person did. Guilt because you feel wrong for being afraid of someone who you love. So you silence your instincts. You minimize your discomfort. You tell yourself you're overreacting. And that internal suppression can be dangerous emotionally, because your feelings deserve space too. Now let's address something important. Does going to prison automatically make you a bad partner? No. Some people come out way more self-aware than others who've never faced consequences. They go to therapy, they get education, they rebuild discipline, they value stability because they know what instability costs. There are certain ex-convicts who become incredible spouses, patient, grateful, protective, emotionally present, but the key ingredient in those healthy outcomes, accountability and transparency, not secrecy. Growth means owning your story, even the ugly chapters. because healing requires truth, not edited versions. Now let's talk about the practical side of marrying someone with a criminal record, because love is emotional, but marriage is also logistical. A record can affect traveling opportunities, employment options, housing approvals, adoption ability, financial stability, even social circles, depending on the crime. So when you're marrying someone, the legal past can become part of your shared reality. That doesn't mean you abandon them, but it does mean you deserve awareness before signing up for that life. Because partnership is shared consequence. Now imagine finding out all that after the wedding, after merging finances, after planning a future. It can feel like the ground under you is shifted overnight, and rebuilding that foundation requires hard conversations. Questions like, why didn't you tell me sooner? What exactly happened? Have you truly changed? What safeguards are in place so that history doesn't repeat itself? And those questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. Because healing in a marriage isn't about avoiding hard truths. It's about facing them together. Now here's another angle that people don't discuss enough. The public perception. Friends and family reactions can add pressure. Some will say, leave. Others will tell you, everybody deserves a second chance. And now you're stuck between two external voices and your own internal compass. Because at the end of the day, they're not married to your partner. You are. So the decision to stay or leave has to come from your lived experience with them, not just their criminal file. Ask yourself, how do they treat me? Do I feel safe emotionally or physically? Have they shown consistent change? Do their actions align up with their words? Because people can rewrite the future, but patterns rarely lie. If the prison story comes with ongoing aggression, dishonesty, instability, that's a red flag. But if it comes with remorse, growth, therapy, accountability, that's a different conversation. Now let's talk about forgiveness, because that word gets thrown around a lot. Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring what happened. It doesn't mean suppressing hurt. It means deciding whether you can move forward without weaponizing the past every time conflict arises. Because if you stay, you can't keep punishing them forever for a sentence they already served. But, and this is important, forgiveness also doesn't mean staying if you feel unsafe. You're allowed to love someone and still decide that they're not the safest partner for your life. Both truths can exist at once. And choosing yourself isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. Now let's flip the mirror for a second. If you were the ex-convict in this story, the lesson here is clear. Tell your truth before marriage. Not on the first date necessarily, but before commitment actually locks in. Because the right person will process it, ask questions, and decide with full awareness. And the wrong person, they were never meant to walk that road with you anyway. And the wrong person was never meant to walk that road with you anyway. But building a marriage on delayed truth, that foundation will always be fragile. Because secrets don't disappear. They expire. And when they surface loudly. So what's the takeaway from all this? Meeting and marrying an ex-convict isn't automatically a tragedy. But marrying anyone without knowing their full past, that's risky. Because love thrives in honesty. Because love thrives in honesty, not edited histories. If you find yourself in this situation, give yourself permission to feel everything. Shock, anger, confusion, compassion, fear, love, all of it can coexist. Take time to gather your facts, not just emotions. Ask questions, seek counseling if you need that, and most importantly, listen to your intuition. Because your safety and your peace matter just as much as their redemption story. At the end of the day, relationships aren't just about who someone used to be, but they are also not blind to it. The healthiest love stories are built where truth and growth meet, not where secrets and surprises collide. And if you ever find yourself saying, I wish I knew before I married them, that's not just regret talking. That's your inner voice reminding you that informed love is safer love. So whether you stay and rebuild, or walk away and heal, make the choice that protects your peace, not just your promises. Because marriage should feel like security, not a plot twist you never agreed to star in. That's all I had to say. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss an upload. And I'll see you on the next one.